Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Curious Kingdom. Today we are recapping sci-fi horror movie Alien Covenant. At the beginning of the film, a business tycoon named Peter Whalen tests the intelligence and skills of his newly created android. The android impresses with its intellect, even naming itself David after seeing Michelangelo's statue. David then showcases his piano skills, playing Richard Wagner's music like a professional. During their conversation, David questions the origin of Peter, the man who created him. Peter, in turn, expresses a desire to find the answer to that same question together. However, David points out that Peter will eventually die, while he won't, making it impossible for them to learn the answer together. This revelation leaves Peter speechless and disturbed. The scene then shifts to the year 2104, where a colonization vessel called the Covenant, with 15 crew members, 2,000 colonists, and 1,140 embryos in stasis, is en route to a distant planet called Origi-6. The Covenant is still 7 years and 4 months away from its destination. An android named Walter, who bears an uncanny resemblance to David, manages the Covenant with the assistance of the ship's AI system, known as Mother. Suddenly, Mother alerts Walter to an incoming stellar flare, prompting him to initiate an emergency crew revival procedure, awakening all the crew members of the Covenant. However, there's a malfunction with the stasis pod of Jacob, the crew's captain, preventing it from opening. Despite their best efforts, the crew cannot rescue Jacob, and his wife Daniels and the rest of the crew can only watch as he tragically succumbs to the malfunction following the tragic incident involving Jacob. The second in command, Orm, steps up as the new captain of the crew, with 14 crew members remaining. Everyone except Daniels gathers in the control room. Orm assures them that he will do his best as their new leader. He then proceeds to report on the casualties and damages caused by the stellar flare incident. Apart from Jacob, they also lost 47 colonists and 16 embryos. Fortunately, the ship's overall status is still at 83%, but many secondary systems are currently offline. Orm orders the crew to start working on repairing the ship. Just then, Daniels arrives and reports that the terraforming vehicles are stable but require some checking. Seeing Daniels already hard at work, the entire crew joins in to assist. Walter accompanies Daniels to the terraforming bay as they inspect the vehicles. Daniels shares with Walter the dream she once had with Jacob about building a cabin on Origi-6. However, after Jacob's death, Daniels finds it difficult to see the point in continuing that dream. After some time, Orm notices on the security cameras that Daniels and some of the crew are having a drink to pay their respects to Jacob. This sight frustrates Orm, as he believes they are showing disrespect. His wife, Karine, points out that Daniels is simply grieving the loss of her husband. Later, after Tennessee and Anchor successfully repaired the ship from the outside, power is fully restored on the Covenant. While heading back to the Covenant, they intercept a rogue transmission. The crew reviews the transmission and realizes it's from a human source. Further analysis reveals that it originates from a nearby planet, which surprisingly appears to be more habitable than Origi-6. This discovery sparks Orm's desire to inspect the new planet, which would only take them weeks to reach. However, Daniels expresses skepticism, noting that all their training has been geared towards preparing for the habitation of Origi-6. She finds the sudden appearance of a seemingly perfect planet too good to be true. Still, Orm insists they investigate because it could potentially be a superior choice for their colony. After a few weeks, they enter the planet's atmosphere. While Tennessee Ricks and his wife Upworth stay on the Covenant, the rest of the crew rides a lander to the planet. Upon entering the planet, they encounter an iron storm, which fortunately they manage to navigate through. However, the storm damages their communication lines with the Covenant. As expected, the planet bears a striking resemblance to Earth, with its terrain, mountains, plant life, and bodies of water. Even the oxygen is breathable, allowing the crew to remove their masks. While some members search for the source of the transmission, Ferris, Tennessee's wife, remains to check on the vehicle's condition. After some time, Kareem decides to stay in the marshland to study the planet's ecology. Lope, the head of the security unit, orders Ledward to accompany Kareem. However, Ledward inadvertently steps on a plant, and its spores enter his ear. In the mountains, other crew members discover a crash site. As they enter the ship, Hallett finds a plant similar to the one Ledward encountered, and upon closer examination, the plant releases spores that get into his nose. Inside the ship, Daniels discovers a name tag belonging to a doctor named Elizabeth Shaw. Walter explains that Elizabeth had served as the chief science officer on a previous expedition. It dawns on Daniels that the ship they are currently on is the Prometheus, which disappeared 10 years ago. In another part of the ship, Orm and the rest of the crew discover that the intercepted transmission is a recorded feed of a woman singing. However, their attention is diverted when Karine and Ledward report that Ledward is sick. Concerned, they decide to head back to the lander. Ferris attempts to alert the Covenant about Ledward's condition, but their damaged communication lines prevent a clear feed. Shortly after, Ferris hears Karine calling for help. As Karine exits the lander, she witnesses Ledward vomiting blood on Kareem. They rush Ledward to the med bay, and Ferris examines him. Unexpectedly, she sees something moving inside Ledward's back, and it punctures his body, spewing blood on her face. Alarmed, Ferris quickly exits the medbay, locking Karine inside to contain the infection. She contacts Orm and urges them to return to the lander swiftly. Ledward starts convulsing aggressively, and suddenly, an alien bursts out of his back, killing him. Ferris rushes to retrieve a gun and alerts the crew about the presence of an alien on board. However, as she goes back for Karine, she slips on Ledward's blood and accidentally fires at the ceiling. This noise alerts the alien, and it begins to chase her. Ferris retrieves another gun but is unable to shoot the alien in time, causing an explosion that destroys the lander. Orm and the crew arrive just in time to witness their vehicle's destruction. Orm wants to rescue Karine, but Daniels restrains him by pinning him to the ground. Meanwhile, Hallett begins convulsing and vomiting blood, and another alien bursts out of his mouth. However, this alien runs away instead of attacking the crew. While Lope mourns Hallett's death, Daniels attempts to contact the Covenant but fails. Later, they are attacked by more aliens, and the crew struggles to defend themselves. When an alien is about to attack Daniels, Walter intervenes, allowing his hand to be bitten in the process. Amid the chaos, Anchor is killed by an alien, but the crew manages to eliminate it as well. Suddenly, a mysterious man shoots a very bright flare gun, scaring away the remaining aliens. When the crew points their guns at him, the man calmly orders them to follow him. After a while, they are led to what appears to be a city with several humanoid statues. Upon entering a temple, the man reveals himself to be none other than the android David, assuring the crew that they are now safe. David proceeds to explain the situation. According to David, he and Dr. Elizabeth are the survivors of the Prometheus expedition. The ship they traveled on was carrying a deadly pathogen, and they accidentally released the pathogen into the air upon landing. Even worse, they lost control of the ship, resulting in Dr. Elizabeth's death in the crash. The pathogen David speaks of is the same one that infected Ledward and Hallett. Concerned, Orm asks if they have been infected by now due to their exposure to the air, but David doesn't provide a direct answer. David then assists Lope and Cole in reaching the roof to attempt to contact the Covenant. Unfortunately, the ion storm blocks their signals to reach the main ship. Meanwhile, aboard the Covenant, Tennessee insists on flying the ship closer to the planet, despite Rick's and Upworth's attempts to stop him. Tennessee is worried and doesn't heed their warnings about the potential dangers of the ion storm. In the temple, Walter discovers David's room filled with sketches of different life forms. During their conversation, Walter notices that David has become more human-like compared to himself, with developed emotions and free will. On the other side of the temple, Orm and Daniels are left alone. Orm humbles himself and admits that Daniels was right about the planet all along. He blames himself for the deaths of his crew members. Daniels encourages him, reminding him that they need him now more than ever as their captain. Outside, David takes Walter to Dr. Elizabeth's grave. A flashback reveals what really happened 10 years ago. It turns out that David purposely released the pathogens on the engineers living on the planet. As they fled to the temple for salvation, the pathogens killed and consumed them, eventually turning their corpses into statue-like figures. However, David continues to lie to Walter, claiming that he was badly injured during their mission, and Dr. Elizabeth had fixed him. He also reveals that he loved Dr. Elizabeth deeply, much like Walter loves Daniels. David points out Walter's apparent love for Daniels when he sacrificed his hand for her, but Walter denies it, insisting that he's only fulfilling his duty. Meanwhile, Rosenthal tends to her wounds, but the alien that escaped earlier suddenly attacks and kills her. Orm decides to search for her. During this time, David encounters the alien feasting on Rosenthal's body. As the alien and David come face to face, Orm arrives just in time to witness the scene. He aims his gun at the alien, but David advises Orm not to shoot, claiming that the alien is starting to trust him. However, the captain doesn't heed his advice and kills the alien. Seeing Rosenthal's head floating in the water, Orm points his gun at David, demanding the android to reveal what's really happening. David complies and leads Orm to his room, where he explains that the pathogen can take various forms and mutate easily. Shockingly, David admits that he's been studying the different forms of the aliens for years because he's the one who engineered them. Afterward, David takes Orm to a basement, where he tricks the captain into being attacked by a facehugger. Shortly after, another alien mutation called a protomorph bursts out of Orm's chest, horrifyingly mirroring David's actions. David smiles as he watches the alien emerge. Meanwhile, Lope and Cole manage to reach the Covenant and report their situation to the main ship, requesting immediate evacuation. Upon hearing this, Tennessee and the others decide to descend further into the storm to aid their crew. Daniels arrives on the roof and suggests using the cargo lift for an immediate evacuation. Tennessee agrees, hoping to reach his wife, Ferris, but Daniels informs him that Ferris is already gone. Devastated, Tennessee is still determined to rescue the remaining crew members. Daniels, Lope, and Cole begin searching for Orem and Rosenthal to inform them of the evacuation plan. They are horrified when they find Rosenthal's head in the water, realizing that something is seriously wrong in the temple. Daniels instructs Lope and Cole to locate Orem and then signals Tennessee, who is piloting the cargo lift, to pick them up. Meanwhile, Walter finally realizes the truth about David when he discovers Dr. Elizabeth's corpse in a room belonging to David. David has been using the doctor's body as material for his alien creations. Confronting David about his actions, Walter expresses his determination to stop David's plan. In response, David disables Walter by stabbing him in the neck. In the basement, Cole finds Orem's lifeless body. Shortly after, a facehugger attacks him, but Cole manages to shoot it. However, the alien's acidic blood splatters onto Lope, causing severe burns. To make matters worse, the protomorph that had attacked Cole earlier now goes after him on one side of the temple. Meanwhile, Daniels discovers David's archives detailing his studies on Dr. Elizabeth and the alien. It doesn't take long for David to find her and threaten to use her as a testing subject as well. Daniels attempts to escape, but David violently restrains her. When David forces a kiss on Daniels, he is suddenly thrown back by the recovered Walter, who had regained his strength. The two androids engage in a fierce fight. David is surprised by Walter's recovery, but Walter points out that he is more advanced in many ways. The fight continues, with David targeting Walter's neck, but Walter holds his ground, using a knife to defend himself. He gains the upper hand in the fight, but he doesn't realize that David is secretly reaching for the dropped knife. Meanwhile, Lope alerts Daniels that the protomorph is approaching to kill them. Upon hearing this, they rush out of the temple. When the cargo lift arrives, they quickly board it, followed by Walter. Daniels asks about David's whereabouts, and Walter tells her that he's gone. However, the protomorph manages to sneak onto the lift. Tennessee alerts the others about the situation, and Daniels prepares to confront the alien. She hooks herself to the vehicle and attempts to shoot the protomorph, but it proves too fast. Daniels instructs Tennessee to release the crane, and she uses it to capture the alien. Waiting for the right moment, she opens the crane, causing the protomorph to fall to the ground. Upon reaching the Covenant, Lope receives immediate treatment. Daniels helps Walter by stapling his facial cuts, expressing her gratitude for him saving her life twice. Some time later, Tennessee informs Daniels that he has taken Mother offline for a full diagnostic run. With Orem's death, Daniels becomes the captain of the crew, and they share a moment to mourn their late crew members. Later, when Mother goes back online, it immediately calls Daniels to the medbay, waking her up. Mother reports an unidentified life form on the ship. Daniels and Tennessee rush to the medbay, where they are horrified to find Lope's lifeless body. It turns out he was infected by the facehugger. Walter, in the control room, scans the ship for the location of the alien and informs them that it's heading to the crew quarters where Rix and Upworth are. Daniels and Tennessee hurry to the quarters, but the loud music prevents Rix and Upworth from hearing Mother's alarm. Suddenly, a protomorph breaks in and brutally kills them. When Daniels and Tennessee arrive at the crew quarters, it's already too late to save Rix and Upworth. In this critical moment, Daniels devises a plan to defeat the alien. She orders Walter to close all paths on the ship, leaving only the way to the terraforming bay open. As the protomorph steps into the bay, she lures it to follow her. After leading it to one of the terraforming trucks, she traps it inside. Tennessee opens the seal, intending to eject the alien into space. However, the trucks get jammed, and the protomorph starts breaking out of the vehicle. In this crucial moment, Tennessee releases another truck, which strikes the alien as it rolls off the Covenant. Everyone on board feels relieved that they have finally gotten rid of the aliens. The two surviving humans decide to return to stasis mode. Before Daniels enters stasis, Walter assures her that she will wake up on Oregon 6. The movie concludes with the revelation that David has actually triumphed over Walter and is now storing alien eggs in cold storage. The Covenant continues its journey to Oregon 6, leaving behind a sense of uncertainty and dread. Both Prometheus and Covenant actually deals with David's obsession to create a life form, and his perplexation with how humans being inferior and mortal created him. That's all for today, folks. Like, share, and subscribe for more such content. Curious Knight signing off. Stay safe, stay curious.